Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce me, Anissa Aprilia Anggreni with NPM 21130226061, Basic Education Study Program, Class A. Here I will present fluid material with subchapter 1 fluid on its dense side.
Fluids. Fluids are all kinds of substances that can flow in the form of gas or liquid. Based on the movement, fluid is divided into static fluid and dynamic fluid. A fluid is a subset of the pieces of matter, including liquid, gas, plasmas, and plastic solid. Fluids have the property of not resisting deformation and the ability to flow, or general the ability to take the shape of their container. This property is usually a function of their inability to withstand shear stress in static equilibrium. The consequence of this property is Pascal's law, which emphasizes the importance of pressure in classifying fluid forms. It can be concluded that a fluid is a substance or entity that is continuously deformed when a shear stress is applied, no matter how small the shear stress is. Fluids are divided into two types. 1. Newtonian fluids. 2. Non-Newtonian fluids. Depending on how stress depends of strain and its derivatives. Fluids are also divided into liquids and gas. Liquid form a free surface, that is a surface not created by the shape of the container, whereas gas do not. Density. The density of the fluid is equal of the sum of the mass of the fluid in each unit volume. At small volumes, the density of the fluid is the quotient between the mass of the fluid and its volume. This definition is only used in fluids that have a small volume and can be observed thoroughly by the sense of sight. In fluids with very large volumes, the density of the fluid does not have a fixed value. Changes in the value of the density of the fluid are affected by the depth of measurement of the fluid in the liquid. The value of the density of the fluid increases with increasing depth in the fluid. Fluid density whose value is not fixed occurs in dams, oceans, and the atmosphere. In the atmosphere, the density values get smaller when the fluid is measured at a position that is further from the Earth's surface. The value of fluid density that varies is measured by adding the mass differentiation factor and fluid volume. Density is a measure of the density of an object and is defined as the weight of an object divided by its volume. The greater the density, the greater the density of the object. Rho equals m per v, where pronounced rho is the density of an object, the unit is kilograms per cubic meter, is the mass of the object, cubic unit. V is the volume of the object in cubic meters. Roughly speaking, density can be used to determine whether whether an object can float on the surface of water. Objects that have less density will always be above the large density. For example, oil will always float on the surface of water because the density of oil is less than the density of water. All objects that have a density greater than the density of water will always sink. The principle is used by ship engineers is designing ships. Look at the picture below. This principle is used so that the submarine can dive and float back to the surface. Hydrostatic pressure. Hydrostatic pressure, when the fluid is at rest at any depth point, is not affected by the weight of the water, the surface area of the water, or the space of the water vessel. It will be based on the area of the object receiving it or the depth or measurement. Hydrostatic pressure compressed in all directions and is defined as the force exerted on the measured area, or can be calculated based on the depth of the object with the equation. The features of the formula R is the density of water for fresh water. Rho equals 1000 kilograms per cubic meter. G is the magnitude of the acceleration due to gravity. The acceleration of gravity on the Earth's surface is G is equal to 9.8 meter per second squared. H is the point of depth measured from the surface of the water. The unit of pressure is Newton per meter squared or Pascal. An example of hydrostatic pressure is the flow of blood or water. We usually call blood pressure is the pressure exerted by the blood as a fluid acts against the walls. Absolute pressure is the total pressure experienced by objects or objects that are in water is expressed by where P ATM is the atmosphere pressure. Absolute pressure is the actual pressure. So if we do experiments and get data about pressure, it is necessary to add atmosphere pressure. Pascal law. Pascal is a law made by a French scientist, namely Blaise Pascal. Pascal stated that at any point in a fluid, any change in pressure exerted on a fluid in an enclosed space will continue. Archimedes principle. Fluid density also applies Archimedes principle. An object will sink if the density of the object is greater than that of the fluid. This is the result of a buoyant force which is less than the weight of the object. On the other hand, an object will float if the density of the object is the same as the fluid. This is the result of a buoyant force equal to the weight of the object. By nature, based on their properties, fluids are divided into ideal fluids and true fluids. An ideal fluid cannot experience a change in volume due to a change in pressure. In addition, an ideal fluid can move without experiencing friction, so its viscosity is zero. Well, the true fluid is a fluid that can experience change in volume due to change in pressure and experience friction when moving with a certain viscosity value. based on the movement. Based on the movement, fluids are divided into static fluid and dynamic fluid. Static fluid is a fluid that is in a stationary state, while dynamic fluids is a fluid that is in a state of motion.
That is all the material that I can present. If there are words or sentences that are wrong, I apologize for ending it. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.